Okay, today I have another review for you guys, and today I'm going to review the book Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adiche. This book was published in May of 2013 by Knopf. It has 477 pages, and it has, I think, close to 1,600 ratings on Goodreads. This book kind of actually has two immigrant tales from Nigeria. It mainly follows Efemelu, who is, like I said, Nigerian, and it opens up in which she has a postgraduate fellowship with Princeton, and she has to take a train from Princeton to Trenton to get her hair done. And it's like a 6-hour endeavor just to get her hair done sitting in a chair, because she has decided to keep her natural hair. And then the book goes back to her time in Nigeria, and then it also touches on her Nigerian boyfriend, Obinze. Their relationship is their first real relationship. They're each other's first loves, and they both kind of aspire to go to the United States. And they are not the typical type of, you know, what people typically think of an African immigrant story. It touches on the fact that they're middle class. They're middle class Nigerians. Obinze's mother is a professor. Efemelu's parents, her mother's very religious, and Efemelu's father has recently been laid off, and they're kind of hoping that he gets another job. Efemelu's aunt is kind of the mistress of the current military dictator, and because of mishaps and the dictator is assassinated, essentially, the aunt goes to the United States, and she invites Efemelu to go, and so Efemelu ends up going to the United States on a student visa, leaving behind her boyfriend. And her boyfriend, Obinze, wants to go to America very, very much so, but he eventually ends up going to the UK. And so it goes back and forth between both of their experiences being immigrants in America and the UK, respectively. Going from a country where race isn't an issue because everyone's the same race, essentially. The only difference that they acknowledge are the different groups, you know, like who speaks what language, where their hometown is, but suddenly they go to a country where what language they speak doesn't matter, what country they're from specifically doesn't matter, but it's just suddenly they're black, and it doesn't matter if you're Jamaican, you're African American, and they're discovering that it doesn't really matter how they identify necessarily, but it matters how pretty much the society that they are immigrants into identifies them. And Efemelu touches on this very well because she actually starts a blog talking about race from the perspective of a non-American black. And the book definitely makes a distinction between what how different American blacks are and blacks from Africa. And it's I found it very interesting of how blacks from Africa don't want to associate with blacks from America because they see them as less than, and I think in a sense they were actually responding to, in general societies, regardless of, you know, black people, that they're on the bottom of the totem pole, essentially, and they're like, okay, well, we don't want to be associated with that, but to their dismay, they're lumped in with that misconception. And this book really touches on how Efemelu starts to learn the intricacies and the complexity of race in the United States, because when she first goes there, she doesn't understand how certain words are used and how veiled coded language is used in terms of race, how one thing she thinks is an innocent statement when it could actually be a slight against her, and she doesn't realize what she was going into, and so she has to learn how to navigate race in the United States. And then another underlying theme here is hair and natural hair. There is a sentiment that, you know, a black woman's natural hair is unacceptable in a sense. Like, if you look at media representations of black women, they always have long silky hair, and it's never their just natural hair. I mean, and it always seems like it passes off. They're like, oh yeah, this is just their hair, but like, you know, weaves cost like $1,000. that isn't a little endeavor, and the extent that African American women have to go through to even just appear normal. And there's a sentiment around black hair that if a woman has it, then she's unprofessional, and it was really kind of heartbreaking to see a Femilu not realize this. Also in the UK, it goes through how hard he's trying to stay in the UK, how he's trying to stay in college, and really how out of place he feels, because people are looking at him expecting him to be from like a war-torn part of Africa, and that he left for some really dramatic reason, that's the only reason that people leave certain countries to first world countries, because it's so hard. But in reality, I mean, both Ngozi and Efemelu, they're middle-class Nigerians, and that the really big reason why, you know, people like them leave is because for the middle class in Nigeria, there aren't that many opportunities for them, so that's why they leave. And it's nothing so dramatic as news reports tell us about Africa, and it's how pretty much people either victimize Africa and Africans, or they, like with the Pan-African movement, they glorify Africa like it's like this magical home, and they fill it with like myths of like that is like the best place to be, or it's like the most rooted place for a black person to be, when it's just as uncertain as like a middle-class person is in the United States. Although I thought it was very interesting to see a perspective of like a middle-class people aspiring to move to a different country, because as an American, or at least as someone in, you know, the West, I've never had the dream of like, I need to move to another country, like there's another country that's like a step up from this one to move to, where there's more opportunities. And it's interesting of how countries, even if you're middle class or upper class, the big step is America. That's the thing about the title, is that, you know, Americanah, the moving to like these first world countries, in their mind it has a connotation of sophistication and opportunity and freedom that is immortalized in the idea of America. And both of these characters are kind of disillusioned with the whole idea of America as a land of like wonder and opportunity after they go there, and they, you know, having the idea that you have so many more opportunities in America, that you're just, as soon as you get to America, your opportunities are laid open to you. As soon as they get to America, they realize that there is another like landmine of problems that they have to wade through and like learn about and understand to get to the opportunities. And for these characters, it is learning about what it means to be black, even though they are black, going to these countries where they're minorities, suddenly they have to learn how to be a minority. I just really like this type of perspective. I want to read more stories, immigrant stories like these, show a more nuanced perspective of the immigrant tale and coming to a different culture and adjusting your identity, or adjusting your concepts about your homeland and yourself and how you identify and how people identify with you. I really did enjoy this book. It really caused me to think about race and culture and how there isn't one perspective of, like, you know, how it is to be black. People who want to see an interesting perspective of identity, of race, and how to be minorities, as well as, you know, getting a more accurate portrayal of Africa. Is a very interesting perspective of race that I definitely related to. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'll edit it to make sense, but anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. That's my review, for what it's worth. Later. Bye.